Well, in the UK we have faster payments, but in Singapore the system's formerly called G3, Gyro 3, and they recently rebranded it as Fast, but they refer to it as an immediate payment service. Nearer to home we have the European Payments Council, and they have in the pipeline their pan-European scheme, and they've settled on the term instant. But what's the difference? Well, these terms are all representative of a global trend for real-time retail payment systems that promises to change much in the way that we pay and in the way that we get paid, moving from an offline batch-based service to an online payment system that processes payments in real time. So for the purposes of this presentation, I'll refer to immediate payments to bring all these terms together and hopefully to give some consistency. So why is this important? Why is this happening? Well, today we become annoyed if we have to wait for anything, and this culture of immediacy is ingrained in our way of life today, and it's been nurtured by the round-the-clock services provided by the likes of Google, Facebook, Amazon, and others. And the world is becoming ever more digital, and the rise of the millennials, or Generation Y as they're sometimes referred to, for this generation, now rather than soon, has become the new norm. But of course the purchasing world is largely already operating online and in real time. And the payments industry that underpins it is now responding to this need for speed. Retail consumers and corporates are increasingly demanding payments complete in seconds, not hours or days. And for digital payments, we expect them to be seamless, whether we're paying somebody overseas or somebody based just down the road. So due to regulatory, technological, behavioral and cultural drivers, real-time payments are about to enter the corporate marketplace. And for the corporates that are ready, there are some interesting benefits that we'll come on to. So how many schemes are adopting faster payments? So let's just step back and take a look at how the world adopts faster payments. So it's possible to look at a map of the world today and see approximately 36 regions that are either live or about to go live with their immediate payment schemes. And we reckon that in 2 years' time, there'll be something like 50 local schemes already live. So I think that with regard to immediate payments, we've already seen the tipping point. So just to draw on a few examples, the UK, Poland, Sweden and Denmark are already live on their immediate payment systems and have been live for some time. And we're seeing exponential growth in these systems. And just to give you a little example, in Sweden, the payment system Swish has become so popular that a new Swedish verb has entered the dictionary, so swishing, in the sense that I'm going to one of the delegates understands this comment, as in I'll swish you the funds immediately. So just going to focus on the UK landscape for a moment. So in the UK we have 4 main payment schemes that process approximately £72 trillion worth of payments on an annual basis. So we have BACS, which is the batch-based 3-day payment system. We have CHAPS for real-time gross settlement. We have the Cheque and Credit Clearing Company for checks, and obviously we have the Faster Payment Service for immediate sterling payments. Faster Payments was initiated by the UK government back in 2006, so a whole decade ago. So a lot of this has been in the planning phases for the last 8, 9, 10 years. And it was launched 2 years later in 2008 with a stated ambition of reducing a 3-day clearing window to a matter of seconds. And faster payments have been largely successful in that goal. In fact, one of the stated aims at the start of the project was to make a digital transaction as quick as drawing out funds from an ATM machine. And on average, that takes about 3 seconds. So they've achieved that. The transaction limits today with faster payments are quite high in the context of global immediate payment systems, currently set at £250,000. And we've been told that in the next few months they plan to increase that to £1 million sterling, which obviously increases the use case for corporates for immediate payments in the UK. So the payment scheme and the UK regulators have been pushing for new access, and their whole drive around this is to increase innovation and open up access. We're seeing these same sorts of trends and drivers, certainly around Europe and around the rest of the world. So they launched the new access model a year or so ago, and this new access model encourages new members to join the scheme direct. So we're seeing in the UK market new challenger banks connecting, new banks, as well as PSPs, so non-bank payment service providers. And even technology companies like Bottomline can become accredited by the scheme and provide aggregator services to these new participants. Another new initiative that I'd like to mention is the World Class Payments Group. So the World Class Payments Working Group have set out a vision in the UK to create world-class payments in the UK for the next 20 years. And again, their drivers are very similar. So we'll hear this repeated over and over again. They're looking for open access, they want to drive innovation, increase competition, and really they have a mandate to rationalize the number of schemes. And I think what we will see in the UK over the next few years is a rationalization, I should say, in the number of schemes that we operate. And the UK regulators really have a mandate now to drive open access. The Second Payment Services Directive is still figuring in their thinking right now, as well as the Treasury project for open banking. So what I thought I would do, I asked some of our customers that don't currently utilize immediate payments to just ask us some questions that they had in their mind, and I'll attempt to answer these for your benefit. So we selected the best questions, and I think how fast is fast? That's a great question. So in the context of immediate payments, can it be same day? Can it be hours, or can it be minutes? Well, as I mentioned earlier, there's no standard definition of what is an immediate payment, but there are certain characteristics that we would always expect to see. For example, there must be immediate credit. For any immediate payment, the recipient must receive credit almost instantaneously. Secondly, it must be irrevocable. So we expect finality within an immediate payment world, within an immediate payment context. Thirdly, there has to be certainty of fate. So once the transaction is completed, it has to be certain, there's no comeback. And fourth, we expect to see straight-through processing. So the transaction must complete end-to-end. So if there's a problem with the payment, we'd expect to see an immediate rejection. So I think in answer to the question, how fast is fast? In immediate payments context, it cannot be hours, it cannot be minutes, it must be clearing within seconds. So we've established that immediate payments is global, it's happening, and it's instantaneous. The other main question we're asking is, should all payments therefore be immediate? I think this is a great question, and what about immediate debits? Well, the obvious answer, of course, is that not all payments, not absolutely all payments, need to be immediate. Many payments are planned well in advance. And certainly that's the case for immediate debits. So for unattended payments such as subscriptions or utility bill payments, there's no obvious use case with making them immediate. That said, other unattended payments such as payroll and salary payments, you could make a good argument for the benefits that you would see in terms of cash flow forecasting if you were to make those payments immediate. But immediate payments, the real use case is on the attendant payment side. When you have a consumer online making a payment, they expect to have positive payment confirmation within seconds. So in the P2P space and also in the consumer to business space, there's a strong business case. So should all payments be immediate? Well, currently it comes down to cost. So as we stand today, you cannot make immediate payments for the same cost that you can make a batch of payments. And the reasons for this are fairly obvious. Certain hygiene factors around digital signing, transmission cost and logging, which you only need to carry out once on a batch of payments, but you would need to carry out these same controls and balances on each individual payment in a real-time payments context. So I would say if cost was neutralized, and we saw this morning that over time that will obviously be the case, then all payments should indeed logically be immediate because of the benefits that we can offer. In terms of immediate debits, I've covered that, but just to say that in the faster payments world today in UK, we don't currently have immediate debits, but the Singapore FAST system does support immediate debits. And I think we're seeing with a lot of these new schemes, they're either offering immediate debits or e-invoicing as a service, which I will come on to. So are immediate payments the same as RTGS? And again, it's not a binary answer, yes or no, it really depends. So the key tenets of an immediate payment is immediate credit and real-time clearing. But for real-time clearing, you don't need to have synchronous settlement. And in the UK Faster Payments Service, there are 3 settlement cycles throughout the business day, but the payment is completed in real time with real-time clearing. And all of the schemes that I see, they're all different. So, for example, the Mexico service SPEI, settlement occurs every few seconds, so almost in real time. And then if we look over to Australia, the Reserve Bank of Australia's fast settlement service, settlement does occur synchronously with the instant clearing, instant credit. So in conclusion, immediate payments can be settled in RTGS, but it's not necessarily the case that they would be. So I don't have time today to go into blockchain, PSD2 and APIs, I'll just touch on the do all schemes use the same standards. So there is a possibility of an issue around fragmentation with real-time immediate payment schemes, as we see all of the local regions are developing their own standard and using their own infrastructure. There's some commonality in the standards they're using. Often the service might be built on ISO 20022, but ostensibly all of the local schemes are being set up on their own infrastructure. And the reasons for this are fairly obvious. It's challenging enough to get banks to cooperate nationally without expecting them to cooperate cross borders and cross currencies. So it may be that there's a challenge around interoperability that the community will need to address. Technology companies like Bottomline can assist with this because we obviously plug corporates and banks into multiple networks and clearing and settlement systems. So just now getting on to the business case for corporates, but I just thought I would firstly mention or just come on to the point, is there a business case for the banks themselves? Because the banks are obviously, they're already implementing these solutions, they're spending the money. So I ask a lot of our bank customers, what is their business case? How did they conclude that process? And they tell me time and time again, there is no business case for immediate payments. This is already happening and we have to be on board. In fact, it's the basic table stakes of doing business to maintain market share. And I think that's a really interesting response. I've not heard that before working in the banking sector. So there's no doubt that this really is going forward. And the debate seems to be moving from making payments faster or making them more immediate to making them better. And this is obviously a debate that Bottomline would encourage. And some of the initiatives that we're seeing around making payments better, working groups around ensuring richer information travels along with the payment to improve the business's chance of improving their accuracy around reconciliation, improved operational risk around real-time payments, so real-time fraud scoring systems such as the systems that we see active today in the card space, and also improving the user interface for consumers and businesses. So there's a lot of activity with in the fintech space and in the banking community developing those interfaces for ease of use. So on to the benefits now for corporates. So I think it's fairly clear that that immediate payments can provide corporate treasury with the tools to better manage their cash flow forecasting, their invoicing, their purchase orders, their financial control, and ultimately their profitability. And there are a number of benefits that people are putting forward for immediate payments in the corporate world, such as discounts. So with better cash flow forecasting and positive payment confirmation, it's possible to offer and obtain discounts for early payment confirmation. Just building on that, terms negotiation. So if you can offer immediate payments for your suppliers, then if you have a good purchasing history with a particular counterparty, then you could offer immediate settlement as a means of negotiating stronger terms. Also, richer information, more accurate cash flow forecasting would hopefully mean that you could reduce your bank lending, also saving fees in that sense as well. And as we move away to digital channels, away from other transaction types such as cards, cash, or checks, then obviously there are savings there in terms of transmission costs. So I think numerous benefits for the corporate. It's early days, but we'll see more digital services being developed in due course. For the corporate's own customers, in a retail context, we see the opportunity for real-time refunds and returns, obviously improving customer satisfaction. Also the ability to ship goods or allow a customer to take goods away home same day once payment is confirmed. For a corporate's employees as well, there are certain benefits. So for hourly paid employees or employees working overtime, a corporate should be able to quickly calculate the hours worked and then make an immediate payment at the end of the week and ensure that the funds are available to that employee. So one final trend that I'll just touch on, bill presentment and e-invoicing. So a lot of the new schemes that are coming on board, and I'm thinking primarily of the clearinghouse in the US, they're offering e-invoicing from the start, and this is already a widely used service in the US. So in this way, the consumer or the corporate is sent an electronic invoice by the system in real time. With a few clicks, the consumer can authorize the payment. And this may well reduce the use of direct debits, where direct debits are currently used. And there are certain important benefits. Firstly, for the consumer, they're taking back control of their payment. That's a good thing. For the banks, I'm told, it's maybe contentious, but I'm told for the banks, they can reduce their customer complaints by relying less on direct debits and also reduce their costs. But more importantly, for the corporate customer, receiving those funds in real time, it improves their cash flow and indeed the cash flow of the end consumer. So then, to try and recap, and obviously we're open for questions later, Immediate payments is here, and we're only just starting to see the benefits that these new digital services can offer when leveraging an immediate payments platform. The payments world is on the cusp of important change, but with immediate payments, the increase in transaction values, and the ease of use, it's clear that for those corporates that can spot the opportunity and move quickly, they can realize substantial benefits today and in the future for themselves, for their customers, for their suppliers, and for their employees.